Welcome to An Evening with Cath Pendleton, where I'm lucky enough to sit down with Cath virtually and ask all your questions that have been sent in recently. Cath, welcome, and thank you so much for giving up your time this evening to talk all things outdoor swimming related. Before we kickstart with the questions, can you just share who you are and what incredible achievements you've completed?
Oh, hi. Yeah, I'm Cath Pendleton. I'm 48, next month 49.
It goes by quickly.
Go quickly. The penguin's fallen on me. Yeah, and then I love ice swimming. So I've always swum, but I've more recently really fallen in love with ice swimming. So I've swum the channel, and I'm now competing to do, well, it's not competing, it's a challenge to do the Ice Sevens challenge. And yeah, I was loving it until the big dreaded sea came along. But yeah, so I came back from Antarctica just before they locked us away. So it's been a strange year since then. But
Yeah,
I live in hope that we'll all be swimming again soon.
absolutely. But what an incredible achievement to kind of complete that time before we all do go, we all went into lockdown. And I can imagine you've been on a high ever since.
Yeah, I have. I'm really struggling with not swimming though. But we won't go there. Everything around the Merthyr Mermaid's been amazing. The response has been amazing. So that's kind of kept me going and kept me dunking in the ice, and
Fantastic.
the occasional tethered swim in the garden, but not many because it's
Yeah.
just not the same.
No, absolutely. Well, I've been lucky enough. I've known you now for a couple of years, Cath, but I have to say, when I watched the Merthyr Mermaid, even I cried, at the ending of your incredible achievement. And I think I'm going to be using that all through this conversation, incredible achievement, because I think that's the only way you can describe it. And from the conversations we've had in the past and for what other people know, you have achieved a lot. And that's also including the Swim Wales contribution to Open Water Swimming Award, which a lot of people, watched that on our YouTube channel just before Christmas, which does seem like a long time ago. But how did that make you feel when you won that award?
Oh, I was so proud, I think. I was really surprised because I'm not the fastest swimmer, so I'm not in any sort of competitions, which I think most people would think of Swim Wales and competitions. So to be recognised for, doing what I love, open water. I mean, I've been swimming a long time in open water now, but the last 5 years since the ice has sort of been really up in the channel in October 2018, and from there it's not really stopped. It's one challenge after another. So to have it recognized was just amazing. And I was in tears, actually. I was in the shed, and my friend Nina popped up from Scotland, and I used to swim there, but all the time in the pool. And and I forgot that she still thought of me as a swimmer, because I maybe did some swimathons and stuff, but I wouldn't have called myself a swimmer then. I just swam. So yeah, that was really nice. And a couple of other people I know, Clara and stuff, had said, oh, we've nominated you. And I was like, and I was a bit embarrassed, really, because I was just like, well, I'm just Cath and I just like swimming. But yeah, it was amazing. If your country gets behind you, and Wales have been brilliant, with the Merthyr Mermaid. Everybody's been absolutely amazing. I walk now and they're like, oh, you're that woman that swims. And I'm like, yeah, that's me.
And it's incredible, isn't it? The fact that you are being recognized now as as that individual who completed that challenge, and in that environment as well, which is we're not aware of, really, are we, or used to that sort of environment from where we live in Wales. But to see the beauty of the landscape when we watched it on BBC iPlayer was just fantastic.
Antarctica was just out of this world. It was, I was saying to you just before we came on how nervous I was there. I didn't really take in the beauty of it in the pictures and stuff. And now it's really starting to sink in. Somebody's posted a video of the orcas just before my swim, and of course I hadn't seen them, and I was like, oh, were they really in the water? And it's just just the enormity of the ice in the water, everything. It's really, I've had time to sort of sit back and think, cool, what I did was really tough. Whereas at the time I was so focused, I was just like, just get in and swim. The only thing I was worried about was the leopard seals. You know, the fact that a pod of 30 orcas had passed by just before I was going in was, but yeah, it's just, the mind's so powerful, isn't it? When you've got a goal and you're just really, really focused. And I loved it. You know, the next day I was like, I would have gone again. I loved it that much.
I think that's what's amazing about open water swimming. And I've been fortunate enough to be involved in this aquatic sports amongst all the other aquatic sports that, we've got on offer. But with open water swimming, you don't have to be a competitor in a race to be in a competition. What you did is a challenge in itself, and it's a competition in itself. And yes, you're not competing against others, but from getting from one point to another in that sort of environment and in those temperatures as well, you really have to prepare yourself as similar, if not more, to what an athlete has to do in preparation for an open water competition.
Yeah, it was difficult. I found that difficult since I've been home. People referring me to an athlete, and people like, you are an athlete. And I'm like, okay, I'm Cath, I like swimming. But yeah, you're right. When I think about it, and it's only now that it's really dawned on quite how hard I was training, because I was just in the moment. And I said to my partner, now that we're all missing swimming, so I mustn't grumble. But I was like, I don't know how I fitted everything in, work and training. And he was like, Cath, we were at the pond all the time. And I'm like, were we? And he was like, yeah, I was there. I was probably putting in, I would say, 8 to 14 kilometers a week outside, probably. I don't know, in the winter. So yeah, it was great. I loved the training. It was just
That's good in itself as well, isn't it? It's the fact that you enjoyed the training, not just the challenge. It's a whole package, not just that one moment being in the Antarctica and actually swimming that mile. It's everything leading up to it.
It was amazing. I've just fallen in love with this ice swimming. I don't know, how it's just happened. And for me, yeah, I was really scared, but everything, just with the whole thing of the BBC coming to do a program, to everything changing on the day, and then all of a sudden it was like, Cath, you're up first, and it was like, oh, okay. So it was really just like that. And then so much has happened since that's really made it even extra special, with the Guinness World Record and stuff. It was always going to be special if there was 10 people doing it and I was last. But yeah, I don't know how I'm ever going to top that one, but I'm going to continue to do my ice swimming, but I don't know how you top Antarctica.
No, especially with the temperatures. Well, before I take up too much of your time asking all the questions that I have, let's dive into what we've had sent in. And it has been absolutely incredible to hear the questions that have come through. A lot of people are so excited about asking these questions. So we're going to kick start with Amy Riley, and she actually sent in 2 questions. So the first one, I think this is a really important one, is what advice would you give someone thinking about getting into open water swimming?
Yeah, I was thinking about this because I get asked it a lot. So my first thing would be, do it. Just have a go. Always have a go. Just do it. Don't keep putting it off. Have a go. There's a wealth of information out there now. When open water swimming itself has been around a lot longer than ice swimming, but there's so much information out there. Swim Wales has got information. You've got a magazine, the Outdoor Swimmer magazine, that's all about outdoor swimming. The Outdoor Swimming Society. There's just so much information. And what's really good as well, there's so many groups on social media now. So, to find, there was a couple of my friends that did the ice swim, and there was, nobody was doing it. It was like really, really new, and it was difficult to find out information. But now there's, whether it's ice swimming or doing, a mile open water swim, whatever it is you want to do, there's so much stuff out there now. Also, with so much stuff on the popular, I can't remember how much it's grown during lockdown. It's just huge. So if somebody's really nervous, I would say go and get a 1-to-1, an introduction to open water. I think over the years, I've taken so many people in the river for their first swims before triathlons and stuff. You know, even people that are really good swimmers have said, "Oh, Cath, you know, will you take me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, go on." Until I got into my training, and then time was getting scarce, and also it's more difficult to do that in the winter. But you know, you've got Swim Smooth is set up now down in Porthcawl at the sea. My friend Angela at the River Wye, she's got the Run Wild Swim, and there's people throughout that you can find those one-to-one. The thing for me, if it depends, if you just want to dip, go on a Facebook group and get, if you want to do it as an event or a competition, then join a triathlon or a swimming club, because from April to September, there's just so many people swimming outdoors, so there's just so much out there. So yeah, you know, don't be afraid, you know, people drop me a line all the time, and if I can help, I will. But the social media is full of swimming groups.
Oh, there's loads out there at the moment, and I think that's a key thing, isn't it? Is, you know, give it a try, but be safe, and tap into one of those groups or an organisation or anybody that's got that background knowledge of open water swimming. You know, so at least then you're doing it with a friend, or like-minded people who enjoy the sport, and you're keeping yourself safe at the end of the day.
And I think that's really true about like-minded people, because I need a challenge. So, you know, I did my first open water swim at the estuary in, you swim from Ferryside to Clanstefan. So I've been doing triathlons, so I've been doing pool swims, and then I'd seen this open water swim, and that was a really good first event. You could swim just across and the boat would bring you back, or you could go two ways. So, you know, I've done I'm involved in the Henley swims, the Abu Dhabi swim. I'm hoping Swim Wales are going to have some swims. But, you know, there's loads and loads of events out there, whether it's wetsuit, short distance. There's just so many. So you can find them in the back of the Open Water Swimmer magazine. You can find them online. Outdoor Swimming Society run them. There's just so many. And I always say, find somebody that's like-minded, because there's lots of people that have tried to put me off things over the years. Oh, you can't do that, it's dangerous. You know, it's not. I love it, as long as you do everything safe. And I think that's the biggest thing, in getting the right equipment to go, you know, having a tow float so you'll be seen in the water. And lots of beaches now are lifeguarded, if that's where you want to swim in the summer. I know at Porthcawl, the watchtower is really good there, as long as you report to them that you swim and report that you get back. It's just amazing now. There's so many opportunities, but we need lots more events as well. You know, it's because most of mine, I would probably say, are North Wales, out of Wales. I don't know, triathlon events, they're always really good as well. Do you know what I mean?
There's so much out there at the moment, you know, and that's just fantastic, isn't it? The fact that, you know, we can all clearly see this sport growing, you know, across the whole of Wales and outside of Wales as well, you know, and it doesn't matter where you are or what sort of challenge that you're trying to, you know, achieve, whether that, as you said, whether that's just dipping in the water or going for that event, there is something there for everybody. So no, it's great to hear you kind of encouraging people just to give it a try. Be safe, but give it a try.
Twice as well. I always say try everything twice.
Absolutely. Well, moving on from Amy's first question, the second one she has, and I think you've kind of touched on this, but what other challenges are you looking to do?
Yeah, so the I-7 challenge is the big mighty one that I hope to have had a couple under. I was meant to go to Canada this month to do my North America one. So the I-7 challenge, if nobody knows, it's the International Ice Swimming Association is the governing body of ice swimming, and you've also got the Winter Swimming Association. They've got this challenge called the I-7 challenge, where you swim 1 mile in each of the 7 continents of the world. So it's 1 mile in water under 5 degrees in just your cozy, hat and goggles. No neoprene inside at all, single hat. And one of the miles has to be a 0 ice mile. So the thermometers have to read 0 under 1. They've got to be. So that's the hardest one for everybody, because to get water that's under 1 that's not frozen is a challenge in itself. And when I went to Antarctica, that's what my goal of Antarctica was, to get my polar 0 ice mile. And obviously it's the toughest. The temperatures, like it's brutal. You know, I sit here going, I love it. It's really tough. You know, the recovery, the training is really tough, and that's the hardest. So that's done. So I've done Africa. I did Morocco this time last year, actually, just before I went to Antarctica, and then I've done a lot of European ice miles. So I've still got South America, North America, Asia, which I'm planning on going to Lake Baikal in Russia in May, if we can travel, and Australia, but we're not allowed in. So so that's, and that, so then they're my ice swimming challenges. I've not given up on long distance. I've got a niggling thing in my head that I'd really like to do the North Channel. It was meant to be for my 50th, but that's not going to happen. So I'm doing a relay by my 50th. So I've got a relay it was meant to be this year, but we've deferred it to June 2022. And the Bristol Channel, there's more and more people doing the Bristol Channel now. So my neighbour, if she listens to this, will come around and say you're not doing the Bristol Channel, but it's still there. So those are my swimming challenges. I've signed up for a 15-kilometre new swim this year in London Docks, and the Abu Dhabi 13, because that's just an all-time favourite. And I've carried over Big Bala swim, which is 9 miles, and then I've got Ullswater, which is 7. And at the moment I'm swimming 0, so they need to let us out really soon. So yeah, I've got lots of, I always got lots of swim challenges.
It's nice to hear, you know, because you've touched on this in the sense that we're all frustrated at the moment because we're not quite able to get into that swimming environment, but to have those goals ahead of you just keeps you going, and it keeps you something, you know, to work towards. You know, once we start to see a little bit of light and we're able to kind of move about, you have got so much to work towards. So it sounds really exciting.
Oh, I've got Thames Marathon swim as well, because I'm doing some stuff with the Henley Swims. They have a 1 mile introductory swim, which is in June. And I've done the Thames Marathon swim before, and I really loved it. So I've just signed up for loads of swims in the hope that as soon as we're allowed out to play, I'll be swimming lots. So
well, that moves on really nicely, actually, because Jan Lloyd, who I believe is one of our woolly hatters based up in North Wales, she sent in a question, and her question is, how or what keeps you determined and motivated?
Oh yeah, well, I think the first thing first, Jan, is I'm really stubborn. So when I say I'm going to do something, I let very little stand in my way. Obviously, things do get in the way. So yes, I think stubbornness brings a lot into it. So if Jan's a winter swimmer, she'll know why I find it easy in the winter. I love swimming in the winter. It's my happy season, except for this year. But you know, in the winter, I don't find it as hard to train, because it's hard sometimes to get up and get there when it's really cold and wet. But where I'm saying find like-minded people that you can train with. My friend Pam joked with me just before the last lockdown. I said something about the rain, and she was like, "Don't we swim in the rain anymore?" And I was like, "I was just saying it was going to rain." So you know, you just. I came out of Asda's the other day up at Dowlice, and it was freezing, and I said to my partner, "It's freezing." He's like, "You stand in keepers smiling in this, getting into the water," and I was like, do I? And I was frozen. But when I'm in
environment, though, isn't it?
In that environment, I don't even think about it. So the winter I find quite easy because I've got lots and lots of challenges. In the sort of spring, summer, I kind of go into mermaid mode a little bit, and it's shall we try and see if we can swim butterflies? Shall we dive down? Shall we pretend we're synchronized swimmers? And my mind gets a bit all over the shop. So yeah, I think it's for me, I have to have a challenge. So like signing up for these challenges, and it doesn't really matter if it's a massive one or if I've just got to have something to look forward to. So like I did the Barry swim. They did a new swim last year. It was 5 miles along the coast, and I am so bad at trying to talk myself out of things. And I was like, I'm not going to do it because I haven't swum. And my friend was like, you swum the channel, you know, you're gonna. And I enjoyed it, but you know, you could tell that I hadn't swum. So I was thinking, right, so this year, the ones I'm going to sign up for, I am going to really train hard for them. So yeah, so I think the motivation for me always comes down to having that challenge. And for me at the moment, and what I've had to do with no swimming, I've signed up to some challenges with Her Spirit. So last month I was doing a boot camp challenge, and this month I've signed up to a walking challenge, feet first, February, just to get me out every day. And then I do it, and it makes me feel better. And then I'm like, oh, it's not swimming. But yeah, I think having a challenge and just having people that are like-minded, and you know, if you're meeting somebody to train, then you don't want to let the other person down. So I think that's easy. And I do think I've got to have a focus. I've just, yeah. And I don't find it hard in the winter because I love it.
You know what? It makes me laugh that you say that, because, you know, when I think about me and my enjoyment for open water swimming, I am looking at my wetsuit and I'm checking to make sure the weather's nice, and I'm looking at when's the water temperature is going to be at its warmest. And that's completely opposite to where you are. So in the winter, I'm wrapped up at home, sat next to my fire, whereas you're looking for that cold bit of water to go swimming in. So it's amazing to have that conversation, because I do feel like we're completely on opposite ends of the line here.
I know, in the summer, you know, I'll go to the sea and I'll be playing in the waves and there's not much swimming going on. I'm terrible. I'm really bad in the summer.
Brilliant to hear. Well, talking about sea swimming, Janine Quirk has sent in a question, and I have to say, I think this has to be one of my favourite questions tonight, because I'm sure all the female swimmers out there would love to know, how do you keep your blonde hair in good condition, especially when sea swimming? And yeah, when this question sent in, I thought, do you know what? That is a very good question, because we're always worried about what our hair looks like. And with this, well, our hair does cop it.
Well, it hasn't been in any chlorine. It's just been in this freezer behind. But I don't go in the pool very often. You don't catch me in the pool very often. And I don't swim in the sea very much.
Okay. So that's the trick.
I tend to swim in... I'd love to swim more in the sea, but it's an hour's drive for me to go sea swimming. So I tend to swim in the pond or the river. So maybe it's just because there's no chlorine and no seawater.
There you go, Janie. That's Cath's secret to.
And I dye it all sorts of colours, and it falls out, and I cut it off and start again.
Well, do you know what? It's getting close, but I've yet to get the scissors on my hair during this lockdown. But I'm sure I'll.
I don't know.
Right then, moving on. So Debbie Jepston here would like to know, does swimming feel different now since you know your Antarctica swim? And I can imagine it does to some sense.
Yeah, I'm missing it so much. How many times have I said that? So I feel like I haven't swum since Antarctica. So, but I think that's a bit exaggerated. I think we did have a few months there that we were able to swim. And I've certainly lost a lot of acclimatization. And it feels different because I was going to the pond without a goal, really, because I knew that the first time, you know, it was when we got out of lockdown. I can't even remember. Was it August or?
I think so. Yeah, I think it was around that time then, wasn't it?
The water was warm, so I was having a bit of a moan then that the water was warm, and getting really happy when I found a cold spot, and spent quite a lot of time playing mermaids. So then when it did get a little bit colder, sort of October, November, when my training would really ramp up, I was really feeling it, but I'd started to go quite often and trying to get myself into a little routine. And we didn't know about the impending lockdowns then, did we? So I started to get myself in a routine, thinking, well, I might not be able to travel, but I might be able to travel by March. So I started to really enjoy it again. And I found myself challenging myself to do an ice mile, which when I was training for Antarctica, ice miles are super tough, but I was doing an ice mile a week for about 2.5, 3 months, which was the level you had to be at to survive zero. So I found myself doing an ice mile. I hadn't intended to. I'd got in and it was a really sunny day and I was like, oh, I'm quite happy. And what I do is I do smaller loops if I'm going to do more distance, so that if everything can go wrong really quickly in the ice. So I think, right, okay, if I'm doing smaller loops, then if I don't feel okay, I can just get out. And when I got out, everyone was like, you were in for ages. And I was like, oh, I was loving it. But I was clearly really, really cold. Where before Antarctica, I was, getting out of my ice miles, freezing, of course, but still, quite capable of dressing myself and everything. And yeah, I wasn't shivery, but I was a lot colder and really felt the after drop. So I had lost a lot of acclimatization, but I felt really good. I thought, right, okay, that's a really good starting point. You haven't swum all from you got back from Antarctica and then we were let out in August, wasn't it? So yeah, it feels very different because I haven't got that immediate goal that I know's happening. I'm like, well, I might go to Canada in February, and that soon became apparent that it wasn't happening. So now I've got May in my head, but no, I think like everybody, just really looking forward to getting back out there. I'm glad I listened to my friend Roz's advice when I was trying to talk myself out of the Barry swim. It was 5 miles, but it was with the tide. So, but it was one of those swims where the tide was going. I'm not very good at swimming in the sea. I might have done the channel, but I'm a useless sea swimmer. I really am not very good. I think just because I don't swim in the sea, so I'm not as.
It takes some getting used to, doesn't it? Like you said, the tide, whether you're going with it or whether you're going against it, and when I've been out swimming in the sea, I've, found myself going, oh, this is really challenging, and it is because you're swimming against that tide.
But this was a fast swim because you were with the tide, but because it was quite choppy, it was kind of, and I'm really bad that I breathe to my right most of the time and hardly ever to my left. So I didn't get to see anything either because all I was seeing was out the channel. But I was so glad I'd done it because I came around the bend into Jackson's Bay and suddenly found this sprint to catch my friend up who'd been flying ahead of me. And I felt really good. I was like, the only problem is there's a question on here, which I'll wait to come to, was I had really sore eyes. But I absolutely loved it. And I think that's where it really comes back to is don't talk yourself out of it. Have a go because there's always going to be people there to rescue you. And I was just like, well, I was more like, I'm going to be really embarrassed if I can't do it. And I've swum to France, but then I thought, well, actually, Cath, you haven't swum for ages, so if it's not your day and you have to go boat, take me back, you do. So I was really glad that I had to go, and then we got locked down pretty much after, so I was even happier. So I think it's always just train for something. I get terrible pre-race nerves, pre-race, pre-event, anything, and I would talk myself out of everything. But luckily, I've got really good friends that are just like, Cath, zip it. You're going to be fine. And
do it.
And I get myself in the right pickle.
Do you know what? I've competed in various things in the past, and I'm the same. Those pre-event, pre-competition nerves, they're the hardest to come across, aren't they? And actually take that step and take that leap and do it. But once you have done it, it's an amazing feel, isn't it? To get that accomplishment. When you are kind of swimming now in your usual spots, and when I say now, during the times that you have been able to go out swimming, have you had any flashbacks of Antarctica, or you just focused in the moment and where you are at that time?
I thought, this is freezing. Antarctica was all right.
Amazing.
How did I swim in Antarctica? It's just freezing. And I ban the word freezing. I always think of hot words. So I really loved the swim in Antarctica. it was in the sea, so I was frightened that it was in the sea, but then I was like, just get your head down, Cath, and swim. And then I had this added thing that people were talking about time limits, and I was like, look, my fastest mile will be 31. It won't be any faster than that. And then first of all, people were talking about 30 minutes, and I was like, whoa, stop the bus. I will not be doing this in 30 minutes unless you're going to put a jet motor on me. So, it's so difficult with any swim. You can't really. Somebody asked me, what's your pool mile, and, what you see. And I said, it's really difficult to say, because you turn on a bit of chop, and, anything can make the difference. So I'd hope that I'd be somewhere between 32 and 35, and I was 32.50 something. So, and I did swim my heart out, because I was like, just get your head down and keep swimming. So no, I've not had any real flashbacks at all. I probably think of things more in the water in Keeper's Pond, and there's not much in there. There's some crayfish. Yeah, I didn't think of these orca whales, which I think is really funny. It's just because a man stopped me on a walk and he said, how did you swim with the orcas? And I was like, I hadn't really thought about them until now, because I was so fixated on leopard seals. Even when they passed by, I was just so like, you've just got to do this. You've been talking about it for 2.5, 3 years. You've got a film crew here. You've left the kids at home, and you just got to do this. So there were so many other things I was trying to block out. Those orcas didn't even get into my head. Even then, when my friend said, do you want to come and look at them, they're just big fish, I was like, no, I'm okay. And it's only now it's sinking in. I'm thinking, oh, they could have popped up at any time.
Oh, what an amazing sight that would have been. Although, like you said, you were so focused on kind of achieving what you were set out to do. And that kind of pops up Katie Gennon's question, who she asked, what do you think about when you're swimming long distance? Have you got something that keeps you going, or do you have a particular song that you sing?
Yeah, I do sing songs, actually. I'm not a very good singer, but I do sing songs in my head. And my first song that I'll probably sing is the one, I Feel Good. You know that one? I Feel Good, I Knew That I Would.
All right, okay. I think I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah. And that pops into my head because when I was 20, I did a exped to Mount Kenya, and we all had these t-shirts made up with feeling good. And every time anybody stopped because they had blisters or anything, everybody would say, I feel good. And that's,
I know the song.
That's always stuck in my head. But in the winter, I sing Club Tropicana getting in the water sometimes. That's quite funny. But the channel was funny because I had Jackie Cabell on the boat that said, do not ask any questions, just keep your head down and swim. So I had this goal of just saying thank you, I'm having a nice day every time I came, and not asking any questions. So that was quite funny. So you're swimming along, and then I was trying to count seconds between feeds, and I was thinking that's useless, I'm going to lose count. So then what else did I sing? This Girl Is on Fire, I like that one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And I like there's that song, it's called, I don't know what it's called, but they sing about one foot in front of the other, babe, just keep moving.
I think I know what you're talking about. I do like this is a Cath's version of a karaoke night, which is
I wrote it down because I couldn't remember it, and I'm not very good at singing. It's called Flames.
Right, yes, yeah.
And instead of singing one foot, I was singing one arm in front of the other, babe, just keep moving, and I sang that a lot. Just I like what Miley Cyrus, The Climb, that's one that I sing a lot. But really, I Feel Good is one that'll come into my head.
Good, jolly one to sing.
Yeah, jolly ones.
Motivated. I think for a lot of people that do open water swimming as well, whether they're swimming a distance or whether it's just kind of, a short time in the water, it's a moment to take you away from, from what's going on in life, from work, from being at home, your routine, your chores, and just having a moment to yourself, isn't it? And just taking that environment around you and feeling that benefit of, of open water and, you know, and it's just an absolute, I thoroughly enjoy it, and it's just a great opportunity for me just to kind of have that breather. But I think I'll definitely be taking some of you know, the recommendations of your songs and doing a bit of singing.
Song, anything, Walking on Sunshine, anything. But
Absolutely,
they've got to be really upbeat ones, I think, because
they've got to be.
I think you'd end up crying.
Especially talking about temperatures that you're swimming in as well. Upbeat song.
In the winter, I don't do anything, and my brain just shuts off. So these songs are all summer and long distance songs.
Oh, okay.
In the winter, I think that's why I like the winter so much, because in the long distance swims in the summer, I will think about what's for tea, or have I paid that bill, or have I done that, or I'm in here and who's picking Beth up from school, or, you know, stupid things. Whereas in the winter, I call it my reset button, like Control Alt Delete, because once you get in, and it hurts, it really hurts, it does really hurt. And you know, you've got to get your breathing regulated, and sometimes when you put your teeth in when it's really cold, it really hurts, and it's just like everything really hurts, and it's like, no, it doesn't hurt, I love it. And then a couple of minutes, then it's just really, everything's gone from your brain, because you just got to concentrate on how you're feeling, because it's so intense. So I'm constantly thinking, is my breathing okay? Sometimes I'll try and do some catch practice that I've paid lots of money to have all this thing, and then I never go and practice any drills in the pool. So I'll just think, I'll be thinking about that, and then I'll be thinking about, are my hands clawed, are they still okay? And my mind drifts into nothingness really, and just the feel of the water. And the water in Antarctica, I was like drinking it at one point. It was just so soft. It was just, it was blue, and then a little bit of like mossy green stuff floated past me. But then my mind went there, and I thought, oh, if it's that clear, something could come anytime. And I thought, don't think about it, just keep swimming. So yeah, I think the winter and the summer swims are just completely different. So, you know, to France, I was singing, I had penguins in my head going to France, because I was really lucky to get sponsorship, and they'd said, Sausage Junior said, if you get to France, we'll think about Antarctica. So when I got really bored of some songs, and I'd been bored, I'd been sick, and then at one point it was light, and I thought, oh, we might make it back to Dover and go to the pub and celebrate. And then the sun went down, and I was like, oh, just keep swimming. And then I was a little bit annoyed, because I thought it was going to be really dark, and it wasn't, because the light from the boat. So I was thinking, I'm not that happy with that. And I was just thinking, oh, well, just keep looking at like the movement of my hands in the water. So that kept me going for a little while. But just silly things, really, just flipping, you know. Whereas was in the cold water, you haven't got time for your mind to drift anywhere other than, am I all right? Do I need to get out?
I think that's a key thing, isn't it, for open water swimming, is, you know, if you go to various locations and swim in different locations, it's going to be a different experience for each one of those. You know, and it is completely different from a pool environment as well. And I think anybody kind of going towards that event or those challenges that they want to set themselves have got to train for that, as well as, you know, the actual distance that they want to achieve. So it's really interesting to hear, you know, the different places that you've been, and what your mind goes through during that time. Kind of thinking about, you know, and this leads on to Sian Jones's question here, and I think she speaks for the nation when she asked this question, because one thing that's on my mind when I'm swimming, and as you can see, I'm wearing glasses, so I have very poor eyesight, but can you whisper your favorite brand of goggles for open water swimming, or any top tips for the goggle fail? And when I say goggle fail, I mean forever trying to get water out of them, or even to try and prevent them fogging up. You know, what stops you from having to stop out of the water and readjusting them or defogging them?
Sian, this is an epic fail, a bit like the blonde hair. Sorry. No, I wear glasses normally, and I wear prescription goggles. So the prescription goggles I tend to go for are Aquasphere, the ones that you insert the things in, but they do scratch really easily. I don't really take good care of them. You know, we all have these cases, but how many people take care of them? And then when I had polarized Zogs Predator ones, they're really comfy for my eyes, because I find some goggles are just so small, and now that I'm getting older, they kind of stick in that bit. So I don't really have an answer, and that's why I laughed about the swim at Barry. So I've made some real big mistakes with goggles. My first ever longer swim was 7 miles in a lake. It was part of the Iceman try, and I was having real steam goggles, and this guy said, look, just put a tiny dab of baby shampoo, just a tiny dab, and don't wash it off. I spent 7 miles. Every time I came into the pontoon going, I can't see. And I had like bubbles in my eyes. Thank gosh it was baby shampoo. So that was an epic fail. And then I hadn't swum for so long, and I've used goggle sprays, and I've used baby shampoo since, and washed it off or washed it with fairy liquid before I went. So I did the Barry swim, and I was so nervous. We'd all gone on a bus, and, you know, everybody had their masks on, and it was like, actually, can I swim 5 miles after not swimming in months? And then we had to get in the sea, and it was really stony getting in, and we were all a mess getting in, holding on to each other and falling over, that I forgot to rinse the spray out my goggles. Oh my gosh. So at the end, my eyes were like stuck together for about 3 days. So I haven't got a simple answer. My friend Sean uses baby shampoo but watered down, and then she sprays that on her goggles and then washes it off. So I think that would probably be the best solution I could say, but no, I'm a epic goggle fail.
Do you know what? That's a relief to hear, because sometimes when I'm swimming, I just think, is it just me that's having to stop and put my head out the water to readjust them or defog them? So, Sean Jones, hopefully that's kind of explained to you on what not to do, but also giving you a couple of tips to help yourself when you're out in the water.
My friend Sean's like baby shampoo and stuff does work, because we did some swims in Keepers. Now, if you get foggy goggles when you're ice swimming, it's impossible, because your fingers are like, they just don't do anything. So I'd started using, and that did work. So try a little bit of baby shampoo mixed with water, and then always remember to rinse it off.
Thank you for that, Cath. So when you go into your ice swim, and of course you've readjusted your goggles, you know, you've got your swim cap on, and you're ready to go, how would you describe that initial 10 seconds of getting into that ice water? You know, those first 10 seconds, what do you do to climatize yourself in the water, you know, and get yourself ready to move?
Yeah. So getting to the water's edge, I am a bit faffy. Oh, I forgot my goggles. I've forgotten this. But then once I'm at the water's edge, it's like I'm in. So I walk in slowly, sort of up to my waist. And then once I'm at my waist, I always dip my hands in the water. I was taught this when I did my open water instructor's course, was just to get a little bit, splash it on your face. And I don't tend to do my face now, but you will see me put my hands in and then splash it onto the back of my neck. So people always said, you know, you've got loads of nerve endings there. So it's really letting your body know this is going to be nippy, and, you know, so sort of. And then if I take anybody to my biggest, so I tend to now, because I still get that gasp reflex, so I still get that, but I know it's coming. So if I haven't been for a while, I'll just do 2 strokes breaststroke and then go. But to be honest, I go so much in the winter, I literally walk in, faff with my goggles. I do faff with my goggles, and then it's water on the back of the neck, and I'm gone. And I know that first minute in the water, I'm really saying to myself, breathe, breathe, breathe. And the other top tip I would say to people that's really good is, when you get into that water, I don't normally use cold, but it's once your hands are in, keep them in. Because that was something else I was told. If you keep doing this, and then your brain's like, well, are you going in? Aren't you going in?
Yeah.
And obviously the float to live is a really good one.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I had a friend, he was in his wetsuit and he's about this fat, right? Honestly. And I was like, just lie on your back. And it really worked, you know. And And
Helps
he's
you
in.
breathe as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Just, it just gets your body calm and used to that environment around you before, you actually move off and go swimming.
The singing the song is good for that as well, though. If you get in and you just do a couple of strokes, breaststroke, and you're singing, it kind of stops you sort of hyperventilating. So yeah, we used to sing jingle bells with like swear words and all sorts of stuff when we first started off. But I still will get in and do a couple of strokes of breaststroke and maybe sing a couple of lines of Club Tropicana, if I'm going with friends. But if I'm with friends that are in swimming and I'm swimming, we just normally say how much you doing, how much you're doing. Right, I'll do a big loop and then I'll see you back here, and then we kind of disperse then, because it's just too nippy in the winter to be standing around. You just got to get in and go, unless you're freezing before you started.
Yeah. So Victoria Waters, she sent in a brilliant question and really kind of wanting to understand about your feelings and whether or not they change from getting into the water, being in the water, or that feeling when you get out of the water. And really, which gives you the biggest buzz? When do you start feeling really exhilarated? Is it before you step in? Is it as you're swimming? Or is it when you get out the water, you put your dry robe on and you think, oh my God, that was amazing? Or is it all of them?
Well, it's all of them. I generally, because I can be a bit lazy and talk myself out of things, don't have that good feeling before I'm going in the water, unless we're going to the seaside and there's loads of us, or there's loads of us going in the river. Then you're all really excited to swim with your friends. But when you're training, sometimes I'm just like, get in and get it done. But as soon as I'm in, especially in the winter, as soon as I'm in and that first, like, my teeth hurt and everything's gone, I'm just like, it's so blissful then. It's just like, especially in the winter for me, because I'm quite normally 100 miles an hour. So I love that everything's switched off and it's just, you're in that moment and it's just swim. So I think that's why I love the winter so much. In the summer, it's completely different because you're playing in the waves, or, one of the rivers I swim in, there's quite often golf balls at the bottom. So I'll be diving down looking for golf balls. I'll come out with 20 golf balls inside my cosy. And then I think always when you get out, you just feel exhilarated anyway. So whether it's summer or winter. So my feelings before I go in, sometimes, although I really love swimming and I know I'm going to like it, that's probably the bit of the swim that I'm most like, I could take it or leave it, even though I've just driven all the way here. And I think only ever twice in 5 years have I driven to the pond and just gone, no, because
No.
8 times out of 10 is blown holy up there. So it's like, and I think those days it's really, I don't go with the set distance. When I'm doing longer swims, I will go, oh, I need to swim for an hour today, and I'm not getting out before an hour. And you might find that you've done 2 hours. Do you know what I mean? And those days are right, I can't get out until I've done this. But in the winter, I just go and see how I feel. And if I feel good, I'll do a little bit more. And if I don't, I get out.
Brilliant. That's great. And again, it's all about personal challenge, isn't it? And what that challenge that you want to set yourself, and how much achievement are you going to feel when you do complete it. So it's great to hear that. I'm going to finish the questions on one that was sent in by Jack Brown, and really it's, what one word would you use to describe your open water experience to date? If you were to pick one word, what would it be?
Amazing.
I love it. Amazing. Yeah, and you know what? I think, following your story and watching the achievements that you have set yourself and completed so far has been amazing. And it's really exciting to kind of sit down and listen to, what goals and achievements you've set yourself in the future as well. And as I said at the beginning, I'm fortunate to know you anyway, Cath, and it's always great to hear about, what things you're going to get up to. And I'm sure we're going to have many opportunities and many more stories, to hear from you with all of that. So yeah, I think that's a good word. Amazing.
Yeah, I don't know. I love swimming. I've always loved swimming, and I think ice swimming now is just something I found something that I truly do love it. I love it. I just love the feeling I get from it. But I don't want to lose the longer distance either, because I think I need that challenge as well.